guys, David Wilson here with Coastal Homes and Design. We're here today under construction. Today our company's laying some hardwood floors here on a project that we're doing. I get asked kind of all the time from customers, especially on the Delaware crawlspace side, is why are my hardwood floors cupping? So today we're going to kind of dive into that and talk about why hardwood floors are cup in homes, how to eliminate that, and talk about maybe some of the hardwood floor sources that you can use in your home. So let's get at it. So hey guys, I'm here today with Justin Fehrenbach of Cape Flooring, and so we talked about why are my hardwood floors cupping. So today we're just going to kind of look at some materials, different products that you can use in your house. Justin's certainly the expert here, so we're going to let him kind of explain some of these woods and different products that we have here, what the benefits are, so the pros and cons to each material, and we'll go from there. So first we have, Justin, we've got some 3/4 inch, this looks to be a maple hardwood floor, 3/4 inch tongue and groove.
Yep.
So what are the pros to this and maybe the cons to this?
So this is probably the most commonly used floor throughout the existence of hardwood floors. They've changed quite a bit in recent times, but what you'll get with the 3/4 solid floor is probably your most realistic look, your hardest, most durable product. Most of the time these 3/4 solid floors can be refinished multiple times, so you have longevity. And some of the cons of it, especially in this area, it's not designed to hold up to humidity conditions and moisture conditions that are prevalent in the coastal communities. So you'll find that you end up with cupping situations fairly frequently that can be avoided, if you take proper precautions. So that's your first product, 3/4 solid.
So next we've got a pre-engineered hardwood flooring. And if you zoom in here, you can see how we've got multiple layers of plywood that are actually crossed in the factory in opposite directions. And then we've got a wood veneer on top. So Justin, you want to explain a little bit about that?
So right here, this is probably the most common setup for an engineered wood. If you look close, you have probably either a 3 or 4 mil veneer on top, which is true hardwood. This looks like a hickory possibly. The benefits of these cores, the cross-ply method is one way that these floors are set up. These cores are layered opposite each other so that they react opposite each other when moisture is introduced, allowing for a much more dimensionally stable product. So when you have humidity conditions in your home that aren't maintained as well as they could be, this will not react the same way a solid product will. If moisture transmits through the floor, which can occur if your crawl space isn't set up properly, this can handle moisture conditions better. It is not waterproof by any means. It can still have potential problems if moisture levels are not maintained and conditioned properly, but it is a more dimensionally stable product. And as you can see too, the wear layer in here is thick enough for it to be refinished a few times, maybe 2 or 3 possibly. So that's a common misconception with some engineered woods, that they can't be refinished. They can, and with something like this you could do that. Now it's not every product, but this is a fairly nice engineered product here.
So out of these two, these are going to be truly wood floors. Which one would you prefer if you were using one of these?
In my home, hands down, engineered wood is the way I would go. It's a lot more stable. It can handle the conditions of this area much better than a true solid wood can. Now, given the opportunity to have your crawl space conditioned properly, you could put a solid wood in your home and still have very minimal issue. So, but if it were up to me, I'd go engineered.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed a lot of people were going with wider and wider hardwood floors throughout. Yep. So obviously this is a 3 1/4. Back in the 50s and 60s, you would have had everything would have been a 2 1/4 plank.
Yeah.
This is 3 1/4. Probably something you would have seen maybe in the 80s,
yep.
90s, and then they just kept getting wider and wider. So how wide would you not want to install a 3/4 inch product?
So anything over 5 inches and you're really, really pushing it, the wider you get, the more prone it will be to cupping. And the reason that is because this is one solid piece of wood. Once the moisture is introduced, it all reacts the same exact way. It wants to move and curl upwards. So You know, anything over 5 inches or 5 inches and over is much more likely to have an issue with cupping if moisture were introduced.
And how about the engineered floor? Same thing?
It can occur. Once again, humidity levels can get much higher on a product like this than they can with something like that. So it is not impossible for it to cup. It still could, much less likely.
So would you recommend to a customer that they can still go with maybe a 7-inch plank on an engineered floor?
If you were getting in the range of 7 inches wide, I would absolutely recommend an engineered plank.
Okay, over a 3/4. All right, well next we have here a laminate floor.
So a lot of the benefits of laminates, you can get your cost down considerably. Some think that laminate technology is outdated and the price has gone down considerably. There are plenty of other products out there, but you can still get a very nice look at a fraction of the cost a lot of times with laminate. The cores on these are fairly stable. I would put them a little more stable than probably most engineered woods would be. So you don't have as much expansion and contraction or need for moisture conditions to be controlled as much. They will still expand and contract, which could cause problems, which means that you need to leave a perimeter gap when these are installed for them to be able to expand and contract naturally. Some people do not like the idea of having a floated floor, so you may consider that a con. You may not. It may not be for everyone, but all in all, once again, cost can get your price down considerably, and you can still get a high-performing floor if installed properly. So nothing wrong with this product. Definitely a good use for it.
And then lastly, we have here an LVP, and also known as also an LVT, which
Yes.
LVP would be a luxury vinyl plank, which would be a board look, correct?
Mhm.
And then luxury LVT would be luxury vinyl tile. So talk a little bit about that product. And
So this is, looks like it's almost a 9-inch wide plank. Very nice embossed and registered product here. You have a WPC core, which is a wood plastic composite with a vinyl image on top and a wear layer. Typically these come in multiple different wear layers, 6, 12, 20, 28 sometimes. Mainly commercial rated products will be upwards of 28. Anytime you're going this wide and you have a product that's going to be floating, this is great. Very waterproof. It locks together and floats. Very sound reducing product, and all in all, there's not many cons to this. It looks real if you go for, you know, mid-range to higher end products. Some of the lower end products won't look nearly as real as real wood. You're never going to get the real wood look with something like this, but you can still get very close and save a lot of money. At the end of the day, I would say this is one of your most durable, highest performing, longest lasting products out there that, you know, will be more on the economical side as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of pros to this type of product. Not a lot of cons, to be honest. So,
let's just show them kind of how this product clicks together. So if you see here, pretty easy to install because all you're doing is just you're laying the product on the floor and you're just snapping one into the other. So very easy to install. A lot of DIYers could do this obviously yourself at home, whereas it takes a lot more tools to work with some of the other products here. So anyway, that's kind of a breakdown on the products that we're using. Just want to talk a little bit about hardwood floors, because a lot of people still have traditional 3/4 inch hardwood floors in their homes. And we talked about cupping at the beginning of this video. Why do I have cupping in my hardwood floors? Most of that is going to be from humidity or moisture. So I'll give you an example. Went in, got a phone call, customer wanted 3/4 inch floors laid on into their home. They already had a large portion of 3/4, which is this product here, the 3/4 nail down, already installed in their home, but they wanted me to add additional. So when I walked into the house, I realized that all the floors were cupping. So you see these little ridges all the way across the floor when you're looking across and there's the sunlight shining in. You see all those ripples. So I knew something was wrong right there. So I went into the crawl space, of course, because we have Delaware Crawl Space Company. So we went in to look at it and see what the moisture looked like in the crawl space, and we noticed that there was about 1 inch of water in the crawl space. So high humidity, all the insulation was dropping, hanging and sagging. So right then I knew that there was no way that I could install 3/4 inch hardwood floors because it was just going to do the same thing, cupping. Well, and the customer wanted me to install the floors, but they also wanted me to sand and refinish their existing floors. So the problem with that is, first of all, we've got to get the humidity under control in the crawl space. So, and that takes typically, to dry out the wood floors, it's going to take about 6 to 9 months probably to pull all that moisture out and hopefully get some of that cupping out of the floors. If I was to go in and sand those floors and refinish them with all those cups in them, and then fix the crawl space, then they can have what's called a reverse cup or a crown, I believe is what they call it, where it actually does the opposite of cupping. So you have to get the humidity under control in the crawl space. No matter what product you're using, you should have a dry, clean crawl space that's dehumidified, preferably conditioned if you can, because you're just, especially with some of these products, you're just going to run into a lot of problems if you don't. So that's kind of a wrap here on some of these products, but ultimately, if you don't get the humidity under control in the crawl space, you're just asking for troubles, especially with some of these wood type products. Anything to add, Justin?
No, I mean, just to second that, it is probably the most important thing that you need to do when considering installing a floor, especially in the wood category.
So Justin, if we don't get back to work, we're never going to get this floor laid.
That's true.
So let's get at it.
All right.
There you go. So hey guys, just circling back here from a crawl space perspective when it comes to some of these floors we've discussed here today. So one thing I wanted to talk about was cupping in your hardwood floors, and can it be reversed? In most cases, yes. We won't guarantee that, but we've done some jobs where we've actually put in the dehumidifiers, encapsulated the crawl space, and we've been able to actually get that cupping to be reversed, so the floor's laid back down flat. So I'm going to say yes, they can be reversed. You have to know though that the reason why this floor is cupping is because it's floors from today that you're purchasing are not from a very mature tree. So the floors built or floors that we would have purchased back in the 50s or 60s would have been from very dense wood, a very mature tree, and that's why you typically don't have cupping in houses that were probably built in the 50s or 60s, even if they do have a lot of moisture in the crawl space, even standing water. Another thing is like a house built in the 20s or 30s. To give you an example of how dense the wood was back then, or some of the trees that they were cutting down, and if you were to go up to a window frame of a house built in maybe the 20s or 30s, that window frame is still standing today. It might not even have any paint left on the wood, but it's still hard as a rock. You can take a screwdriver and even poke into it, and it's just still solid wood, and it's just because of that matureness of the tree. So another thing, and I know I might get a little heat on this by saying this, but I don't prefer a glue down method when it comes to my flooring. I would always want to nail down the flooring, and the reason I say that is because we do a lot of water damage jobs through a partner of ours, Serpro, where we actually go in and they have water damage in the house. Maybe the ice maker leaked or a dishwasher, and it flooded their floors and created a lot of cupping in the wood, so we have to remove that wood. And what we found is any wood glue down, whether it's engineered or traditional hardwood, if it's glued down, that glue is most likely gonna hold tenaciously. It's almost impossible to get that wood up without pulling up some of the subfloor with it. Plus, it's just going to take hours and hours to just get all of that wood up, and then you have to get the glue residue that's just still left on the wood surfaces. So if you have some type of water damage job, you're going to run into a lot of problems. Or if you even just want to change your flooring down the road, that's why we wouldn't glue down the floors. It's just much easier if you nail them down, and it's still going to give you a great finished product at the end. Lastly, just want to talk about, because we brought this up about, and then when we started this video talking about why are my hardwood floors cupping, the reason they're cupping is because you have moisture in the crawl space. So there's no home here in Delaware that we wouldn't recommend you have a dehumidifier in the crawl space. Sealing up your foundation vents, getting dehumidification down there. because that's going to bring the relative humidity down to an acceptable rate where this wood will not cup. So very important. Also, when it comes to the dehumidification, if you can condition the crawl space, that's always an added feature. It's going to make a much more comfortable floor. It's going to make them much warmer. So that's kind of it. But you have to have a dehumidifier in a crawl space. So don't forget, guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll see you next time here under construction.